Welcome back to Behind the Caution Tape. This is a special episode. I am super excited to be joined by USC lacrosse alum Katie Ramsay. Katie, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Crash. I'm super pumped to be here and loving your energy as always.
Thank you so much. Yeah, how's your day been so far?
It's been great. I am at work in the office, and I actually interviewed for a new role today, so feeling really, really good and really optimistic about the future. So it's been a great day.
Best of luck with all that, and thank you again for
Thank
taking
you.
time out of your busy day. So let's get right into the interview. So I want to start just kind of what got you into lacrosse and how old were you when that happened?
Oh gosh, that is a crazy question for someone who grew up on the East Coast. Joke that people come out of the womb with a lacrosse stick on the East Coast. I grew up in Darien, Connecticut. I think I started playing lacrosse in like third grade. Um, was not very good. My mom always wanted to see me score, and so I put myself as a goalie. I was just kind of messing around as a kid. I played basically every single position under the sun and just really loved it. When I was younger, I was the most passionate about soccer, actually. But ended up really diving deep into my love for lacrosse and am so grateful for everything that it's brought me.
And then what made you stay with it growing up, even when, things got tough, maybe you weren't playing as much as you would have liked?
Yeah. I actually think I had a really pivotal moment in my freshman year of high school. I actually was I feel like I was a late bloomer in terms of my lacrosse development, and I was feeling really discouraged with the talent I was surrounded with in Darien, Connecticut. Everyone was incredible. I actually went to my mom and was like, I'm quitting lacrosse. I'm going to quit. And she was like, No, you're not. You have to play for your freshman season, and then if you don't like it after that, you can quit. And so I'm always so grateful for that conversation. That year I made the JV team, and I think even though I was bummed I didn't make the varsity team, it was such a transformative experience for me. I feel like I really fell in love with lacrosse again. I had fun. I was doing really well at that level, and it really just built my confidence back up. By the end of the season, I was actually pulled up to varsity to do the draw, and um, by that summer, I was committed to USC. So it was a whole 180 turnaround, and I'm super grateful for my mom in that conversation.
Kind of building off that, I did want to ask you next about what your recruiting process and what, led you to choosing USC. And obviously it seems like kind of just that pivotal your freshman year is super pivotal. So can you talk about kind of
Yeah.
what it was like dealing with, Coach Lindsay Monday and all that, just as, kind of you were, kind of getting better, I guess, throughout your freshman year as well as the rest of high school.
Yeah, it was really interesting because when I was going through my recruiting process, there weren't the same rules that there are now. Now coaches have to wait till September 1st of someone's junior year to reach out to them versus when I was in high school, it was kind of a free for all. So I started doing recruiting showcases when I was in seventh grade. Granted, I was terrible and no one was going to recruit me, but I was always, doing those things in the summer. I would say the most pivotal summer for me was that summer between my freshman and my sophomore year. I was going to camps, going on visits, and playing in my summer tournaments. I went to a USC camp to work with Alyssa Leonard, who was a draw specialist and coach at USC at the time, and just really fell in love with the campus ever since you know, stepping on campus, I was obsessed. And no matter where I was visiting, I was like, I'm going to USC. They didn't know about me before the camp. I performed really, really well at the camp. And they, after that, came and watched me in a tournament. And um, the rest is history. I committed on this, but the same night they offered me, I called them back and accepted right away. My parents were like, "You have to wait. You have to like bargain and negotiate." And I just right away I was like, "I'm going to USC."
How long after they offered how many hours after? I kind of am curious.
Not even an hour. I was like, gonna offer someone else. Like I have to accept it. I think I probably just went downstairs and I called them back right away.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And then obviously I want to jump forward to you in college. Like what was it
Yeah.
like when you got on campus and then how did you feel you kind of fit in with, the team and then the coaches when you got to SC?
Yeah. Uh, I absolutely have loved SC since camp to stepping on it freshman year. I think coming in freshman year, I was, under the impression that I was just gonna ride the bench and like have a good time. And so that I wouldn't say that's the expectation I had for myself, but like I was just happy with any other gravy. Like if I got on the field, that would be super, super exciting. And I ended up having a really strong developmental period between my senior year of high school and my freshman year of college. And so I think I actually surprised the coaches as well as surprising myself. So I remember in my first week on campus or first week of practice, Lindsay Monday actually pulled me aside and was like, all right, boss, like, so you got a lot better since like the last time we watched you. I was like, and my freshman year was just magical from my first game. I scored a hat trick, um, and just like really feeling the support from my teammates from my freshman year through my fifth year. It was just an incredible experience.
And then how do you feel you kept kind of growing as like a player and a person as you kind of were stepping into a bigger role as a contributor and leader, especially it seemed like really early on in your career at USC?
Yeah, definitely. I think the most leadership that I took on was in my senior and my fifth year where I was a captain for the team. I think the most important thing to me in terms of my development was actually the off the field development. I worked really, really hard to build a culture of community and friendship and love on the team. And I think all the girls can speak to that now. I think it's really stuck, and that's something that I'm really, really proud of. Obviously, I've developed as a player, obviously, I've developed as a student and in my career. But it's those long-lasting relationships and the impact that, I hope to have on the program that are the most important to me.
Gotcha. And I do want to ask you a little bit kind of about like kind of your kind of middle of your time at USC. Like what
Yeah.
was that COVID season like? I mean, the season started out strong and then it just suddenly just came to a stop. Like what was that just like
Yeah.
when they were just like, we're done?
Ugh, that was heartbreaking. That was my sophomore year of college, and we were undefeated that year. We were on an incredible roll. I think if you talk to anyone on the team, um, they'll say like if we had had that full season, like we could have won the national championship. That was really one of the strongest years that I played at USC. Um, we were all hoping that everyone would come back, everyone would take their fifth year, and like we'd have the same team and we'd go forward in our junior year. Unfortunately, we had some transfers. We had some people that, started their careers, which is obviously super understandable, but it just wasn't the same team. It's never the same team. Every year it's a different team and you have to come back. But I do think that sophomore year season was incredibly special and something we'll all kind of look back on. Oh, like what if we did have that season? Um, the junior year season was really, really tough. It was still during that time period was where LA was locked down for COVID. We had to wear masks all the time. We had trackers that they had in like these little pockets in our sports bras, and we couldn't get close to anyone on the team, and it was just a really isolating season, especially on a team that is so close. It was difficult to keep us all separated, and I think that really affected our mental health and just the way we were playing on the field. So I was pumped to get back to normal in my senior year.
And then what did you learn about yourself during those like tough times at USC, especially kind of really like that 2021 season when it
Yeah.
wasn't like obviously you're doing still a lot of COVID compliance and then
Yeah.
also just you weren't winning as many games as you would have liked.
Yeah, I think primarily the importance of leaning on the people around you. I think also I was able to lean into our sports therapy and sports psychiatry program. I think that's been massive in my development as a person and a player. Leaning into therapy, leaning into, talking through with both a therapist and then the community of support that you have around you. Um, Again, I think that's what's really special about the team is like we're able to share what we're going through in those hard times and really lean on each other for that support.
And then obviously you talked about having that extra year due to COVID. What made
Yeah.
you come back for that fifth and final season? And did getting to play with your younger sister Maggie, who was coming in as a freshman at the time, factor into that decision?
Yeah, definitely. I would say um, I love USC and I was always probably going to come to USC. Um, I thought about maybe pursuing, a fifth year at a different school, maybe a master's program matched up better with what I was looking at. Um, but really what drove me back to USC was one, my love for the team, but really my love for my sister. And I worked really, really hard to create a community and a culture that was welcoming and loving. And I wanted to be with my sister and have her be a part of that. So playing with her was really special. She is an incredible person, and she actually just scored her first career goal yesterday. And so being still involved with the team and going to games um, has been really, really special. I think that's a really unique opportunity for me to play with my sister. We were 4 years apart, so we always kind of missed each other in the school cycles. So finally getting that extra year of eligibility, COVID's kind of, a blessing in disguise.
And then I want to talk to you more about kind of the successes, especially at kind of the starts and ends. Like, what was it like to win, three regular season Pac-12 titles and then two Pac-12 tournament titles? I think if I got it all right,
Yeah,
doing my
I believe
research.
so. I
What
believe
was
so.
that just like? What was that like, getting to have all that success and getting to hoist trophies?
It is just the best feeling in the world. Um, I was just recently like evacuating for the fires in LA and I was packing up everything that was important to me. And 99% of it was lacrosse related. It was my Pac-12 rings, my Letterman jacket, my uniforms from USC. Like those moments are really important to me. Um, I won my first Pac-12 when I was a freshman and bookended it by winning my last Pac-12 with my sister in my fifth year. And so, especially that last one with my sister is really important. Um, and I think both of those games are, games that I had incredible games personally as a team, and all that hard work and all that emotion just really comes out in those final games. I remember we won by so much the in my fifth year, and I remember just like shaking the whole game because I wanted it so bad. So having it kind of come to fruition is super, super special.
I really remember a lot of those games from your last year there.
Yeah.
I think there was like a couple where it was just like, especially those big like conference games. Those were just big ones, and you guys just blew out the opponent. I remember
Yeah.
like I think there's even one where like I remember Boogie Ellis showed up too.
Yes, we had a play named after Boogie, and it was one of our like go-to must-have a goal plays. We'd be Boogie. They'd hold up a sign with Boogie's face on it, and so I think he found out about that and came to support.
Oh yeah, because I remember he was right there, and I think he scored it in front of him.
Exactly, exactly. Which is super fun about USC generally. Um, Not just in lacrosse, but there's so many big stars all around campus, and seeing the love and support between sports is really, really special, especially when, most of these people are going on to become incredible professional athletes or incredible in their field of work in some shape or form. So it's cool to be surrounded by greatness at USC.
And then I want to ask you about like your experience of, going to the playoffs. Obviously, especially winning those Pac-12 tournaments or having just a great year overall
Yeah.
earned you a spot. So what was that like getting to play in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think one of the most exciting days every year is that selection bid, um, and figuring out where you land in the NCAA tournament. I think that we always kind of struggled in the NCAA tournament, and which is a bummer. But I think it's because we didn't, as a West Coast team, we're playing some occasional games on the East Coast and some occasional games against like top ranked teams. Um, but sometimes coming to the East Coast was really daunting. And I think that the program going forward is going to have a much better opportunity to tackle those problems because of the conference change. They're now in the Big Ten and they're facing these kind of opponents more often. I think it's really just repetition and ingraining that new identity into the team that, like we can hang with these teams and we can beat these kind of teams. We are a top 20, top 25 ranked program. And we need to come out with the confidence every time to, prove that to East Coast teams. And I think you see that, like, especially in our the NCAA game that we lost in my fifth year. We played Denver and we went down by like so many goals right off the bat. Um, we ended up coming back all the way and only losing by one or two, I believe. And so it's once we really got ingrained in those games, we figured out, oh, like we can do this. Like this is fine, but we need to have that confidence earlier on.
All right, gotcha. And then I also want to ask you about what was it like, getting to play in the Coliseum since you mentioned I think when we I ran into you at that at the
Yes.
home opener this year, you talked that you played, I think it was you said about averaged game there once a year.
Yeah. I think we were playing mostly our senior day games in there, and then maybe if there was a special matchup, we would also play in there. I think there is some incredible history in the Coliseum, so it's always really special to play in there. I remember even before I got to USC watching those Coliseum games when I was just a commit and like aspiring to be on the team. Um, those games always looked super magical on the stream and made me even more excited to come to play at USC. Somehow our Coliseum games are always a little bit of a kiss of death. I think the pressure of being in the Coliseum can sometimes be overwhelming, and we've had some games that shouldn't be as close as they are. But always an incredible experience to play in there.
Gotcha. I don't think I got to catch you in there, but I think I've been to now two games there, and I think they've gone 1-1 when I've been there.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then I do want to ask you a little bit about some off the field stuff at USC. So what do you get your undergrad and then your master's in?
Okay, so I have my undergraduate degree in business administration. In that degree, I really heavily focused in marketing. And then I have a minor as well in sports media studies through Annenberg. And then my master's degree is in entrepreneurship and innovation. So my bachelor's and my master's are both from Marshall, and then my minor is in Annenberg.
Gotcha. And then I also want to ask you about what are some of your favorite moments at USC just off the field, like not related to lacrosse?
Oh gosh. I mean, I think always the favorite moments are just being in the house with the entire team of girls that you love. I lived in the Lax Lodge, which was one of three lacrosse houses that we have. So I lived with nine girls, and you can imagine all sorts of, crazy activities going on in that house. We had a rat in my room at one at one time. Just like everything that you would expect out of a college experience. I loved going through with those girls and being on the team with those girls. I also think USC is in such a unique area. I loved, going out into the surrounding LA area and exploring, going to the beach. It's rare that you can say, you can go to the beach and go surfing and hike and ski and all in the same day, basically.
No, literally. Yes. Trust me, I know about a lot of that. And then obviously I want to now ask you about what was it like, that process of, going pro. And I know you are playing a bit of pro lacrosse and like what else are you up to now and what's it like working for CAA?
Yeah, so I've hung up the cleats. If they want me back, I'll go back. I'll start training again. But after graduating college, I just planned on applying for jobs and starting in the workforce. Um, and actually, crazy story, I was going to visit one of my friends in Dallas, and I was mid-flight and I got a text from one of the most prolific athletes in our sport, Sam Apuzzo. And it was like, hey, we would love you basically to play in Athletes Unlimited, which was the only women's professional lacrosse league at the time. And I was like, am I getting pranked? Is this spam? And I wasn't able to reply because I was mid-flight and there was no Wi-Fi. And I landed, I got on a call with them and the player advisory team. Um, they gave me all the information. They gave me a contract on the spot. I canceled the vacations I had planned for the summer. And I was just so excited to kind of have another chance in my lacrosse career. Um, write another ending to the story rather than a loss in the NCAA tournament. I absolutely loved playing professional lacrosse. I think specifically, I just loved the girls that I played with. Athletes Unlimited was such an incredible experience. Um, Not only the girls I was playing with, but Kate Dever, who also played at USC, she was the content creator for AU. So I was really able to just hang out with my best friends for the summer. Um, I think my most memorable moment is scoring my first professional goal. Like that is just a dream come true, and I'll always look back on that time really fondly. Um, yeah, so I've hung up the cleats now. I was interviewing for a bunch of roles when I was still playing professional lacrosse, and I landed the gig that I'm in currently at CAA. I work in CAA's venture capital group, so we invest in early stage startups and then leverage the connectivity that we have as an agency to boost those investments. Um, I am an assistant on the team, so I'm handling administrative duties. I'm joining pitch meetings to help our investment committee figure out what we want to invest in and what we don't. So that's really great insight there. I run events for the fund. I run the fund's social media. Um, and right now, I am applying to more sports focused roles to kind of hone back in on my love for sports um, and my passion there.
So you're really trying to go for something like really where you can still be involved in the sports world, even though I guess you could say you're, retired from playing pretty much.
Yes, yes, I know. It's so sad. The WLL just launched, which is incredible. Um, and it's the newest and only women's professional lacrosse league now. They're doing incredible things, and now that I've hung up the cleats per se, I'm trying to figure out how I can help those girls and those female athletes and the WLL from the business side. Like, can I help them with sponsorships, and how can I support them um, from the business side? So that's kind of my purpose and my passion right now.
Gotcha. Yeah. No, I want to go back to, talking about a bit about USC now, like as an
Yeah.
alum, kind of what it's like looking at it now, being kind of, I guess, on the outside looking in, being at games, especially to support your sister. Like,
Yeah.
what's it? So I kind of want to ask, like, looking at just the remaining schedule this first year in the Big Ten, what do you think the key to them having, successes both kind of this year and like sustained in the years to come as a Big Ten members?
Yeah, I think this year is just going to be a really good learning moment for the girls to carry with them into future seasons. I think the first year in a new conference is always going to be a learning lesson. Um, I think the key for these girls is to always just play their game. I think there's sometimes, not just this year, but I think every team experiences this where you're playing down or up to the level of the team that you play. And I think the key is, you know, we don't overlook any opponent and we don't hype up any opponent too much. It's play USC lacrosse and play our own game. And, hopefully the chips will fall our way. I think the beginning of this season has been a little bit like easier of a schedule compared to the second half of our schedule. Um, there's been some hard games in there, no doubt. But we really next Sunday, I believe, not this upcoming Sunday, but the following Sunday, we ramp up into our Big Ten schedule, starting with Hopkins and Maryland and Northwestern, and those are really heavy hitters in the lacrosse world. So it's going to be about having confidence in West Coast lacrosse, having the confidence to go against these matchups that we've traditionally watched on ESPN and never been a part of. I think there was sometimes that we played those teams back at the the founding of the team because I think it's like 12 years old at this point, and we used to play some of those teams. But now, showing everyone what West Coast lacrosse is about.
Yeah, I think I definitely have that Johns Hopkins match, especially because it's gonna be back in the Coliseum, and
Back in the Coliseum.
it's one unfortunately due to spring break plans I have to miss.
Uh,
Definitely want to try to make it to one at Dignity Health Sports
yes,
Park down later in the season for sure. But that one's definitely gonna be really exciting regardless. You should either watch it or be there if you can. But
absolutely. I'll be there.
for sure, well, of course, I mean, and that's why I next want to ask you, like, what's it like being back at these games, especially to support Maggie?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, during my time at USC, I was really helping to facilitate a lot of the recruitment. When girls were coming on campus for visits, showing them around, answering questions, talking to their parents. And so I do actually know a lot of the people that are on the team, outside of their relationship with my sister as well. So these are people that, I helped integrate into the program. And so seeing them grow and them really come into their own on the team has been really special. Um, I'm very close with the girls specifically in my sister's grade. Um, and it's been really great to see them all kind of have their breakout moments and just really excited for them in the future of the program.
And then
And
talk,
it's obviously fun to go to the tailgates and hang out there versus being on the field.
yeah,
But
I've heard.
sometimes I do want to get back on the field.
Gotcha. And then speaking of the future too, Rollins Stadium is set to be complete
Yeah.
by next fall. What are you most excited about that? Even though you won't get to play in there, what are you excited for just the program getting to have that stadium, getting to have be able to have more fans and obviously just create, I guess, a better game day experience, not for both players and fans.
Yeah, I am incredibly jealous of everyone that gets to play there, and I wish I was born years years later so that I could play in that stadium. But it's just an incredible testament to the university's investment in women's sports. I remember in some of my first practices on campus when we'd be walking through the village with our lacrosse sticks and people would be saying like, "Oh, like why do you have really long tennis rackets?" People didn't even know what lacrosse was. Granted, some of these are like either people that have grown up on the West Coast and have never seen lacrosse or people that are from other countries. And lacrosse is mainly an American sport. But I think it's showing how quickly the program is growing and if you invest the money and you invest the resources into a program, it'll be incredible to see where they can take it, the types of recruits we can get. Um, and I'll be excited to see more people at all the games.
For sure, yeah. And then obviously now I got a couple questions for you, and then I'll let you go, Katie.
Of course.
What's the best advice you've ever gotten throughout your life?
Oh my gosh. Really asking the hard-hitting questions. Best advice. I'll go two. Just personal on a personal level and then one on a career level. On a personal level is just like lead with kindness. I think that's my MO. Hopefully everyone I interact with can, you know, agree to the fact that that's something that I live by, and I think it helps you create culture and friendships and teamwork within any group that you're in, whether that's on the field or off the field. Um, and then my second piece of advice is actually from Professor Napoli at USC. And this is in a business sense. He would always say your network is your net worth. And I would say that really rings true. And focusing on networking, even when you have a job, um, is really, really key and developing those relationships as personal relationships and not just business relationships that are kind of like exchanging. You want to have that personal connection as well. So lead with kindness and your network is your net worth. Really lean into the Trojan family and everything that it can do for you and what you can do for others.
I've really seen, especially that second one, especially at a place like USC. There's really no
Yeah.
better place to learn how to network.
Yeah, it's incredible. And even post USC, I'll meet people at networking events that are like, oh, like Trojan family, fight on. And it's always good to have those people in your corner. And I've really seen, the support of those people in my later stage of my career.
Absolutely. And then my final question for you is, what is the best advice to anyone who they look at you, they aspire to be like you and play college lacrosse?
So I'm a coach, so I hopefully bring this type of advice to the girls that I coach on a daily basis. Um, my I think it's different for everyone. Like, really, so my general advice would be really lean into your strengths, and do what you're good at, but obviously work on the things that you're not good at. Um, I was an incredibly athletic kid, an incredibly fast kid, and an incredibly tall kid. And so, what I highlight for my success is different than, what other people may highlight for their successes. So figure out what makes you unique, figure out what makes you special, whether that's a physical attribute and a skill, or whether that's like what you bring to the table on a personal level. Are you that hype man? Are you someone that builds team culture? Just really lean into what you're good at, and obviously, hit the wall ball in the backyard and the goal, and really put in those reps if you want to make it to the next level.
Gotcha. And then actually, I know I said I was done, but you did mention you were coaching a little bit. So I did
Yeah.
actually want to ask you a little bit like, what's that experience been like?
Oh, it's been incredible. I coach locally for the Mad Dog West Elite program. I coach 2026s, which are juniors in high school. And so this past year I actually helped all my girls with their recruiting process, which has been incredibly special to go from doing my own recruiting process to then helping kids do it themselves. I It was a crazy summer leading up to September 1st, and talking with coaches and organizing, where each kid we think should go. But I played professional lacrosse with most of those girls. They're my friends. It's easy to like reach out to them and connect the dots between us and our players. I was able to get girls committed everywhere. We have two girls committed to Harvard, two to Denver, one to Syracuse, one to UConn. Pitt, Stony Brook, so many more. Like the schools that these girls are going to are incredible academically, athletically, and at the end of the day, just like great matches for these girls. So it's been really special to feel like I'm having an impact. Where you go to college is super special, as I can attest to. So helping these girls get to that dream college is really, really important to me. And looking forward to doing it with my next crew of girls. I've moved on to the 2029s, and I think they're in eighth grade. So, gonna help them go through their freshman, sophomore year leading up to that September 1st junior date, which is incredibly, incredibly special.
I just wanted to ask you about that since you mentioned it. So I
Yeah.
figured it was just like, had to ask you about coaching. It was really cool to hear you
Yeah.
talk about just it being on the talking about now helping others get recruited to that next level.
Yeah. I think coming out here to play lacrosse and seeing the way it's developed on the West Coast, even just in the time that I was in college, has been really cool to see. And I want to give back to that community that supported us for so long. I know all these girls. It's funny, a lot of them knew me on the first day that I came to coach because they had been coming to our games since they were really little. And a lot of them have seen games since I was a freshman through a fifth year. And so to connect with them, to give back to them for their support of me, of the USC program, and just the growth of lacrosse on the West Coast generally has been really, really cool.
All right, and that's all I got for you, Katie. Thank you again so much for joining me on Behind the Caution Tape today. It was really cool to hear your story, and it's an honor to talk to you.
Oh my God, thank you, Crash. Fight on, everyone.
Fight on. That's going to do it for us here on Behind the Caution Tape. Thank you again for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe wherever you listen. Make sure to follow Katie on Instagram at Katie Ramsay with two Y's at the end.
Yep.
And then make sure to follow me at CrashLit. Check out my website, crashlit.com. And I'll see you all Monday for the Monday Rundown this next week. Fight on.
Fight on.